Anxious attachment can make your whole body wait for a text response. You check your phone, you reread what you wrote, or you start scanning for what you might have done wrong. Maybe it's not a text. Maybe it's a shift in someone's tone, a shorter goodbye, or a night with less affection than usual. And suddenly, your mind is racing, your chest is tight, and you need to know that everything's okay right now. If small moments of distance can set off that kind of alarm in you, this video is for you. That pattern has a name. It's called anxious attachment. Today, I'm going to explain what anxious attachment is, why the spiral happens so fast, and why reassurance never quite feels like enough. I'll also tell you about the ACT skills that I use with my clients, including a 90-second reset that you can use the next time you feel that kind of urge. Hi, I'm Dr. Sheila Vidal. I provide ACT-led trauma-informed therapy for adults in California and Virginia, and I create these videos to offer grounded psychological education you can bring into everyday life. I've also created a full article on my website that covers everything in this video, along with communication scripts and additional resources. I'll link it in the description and point you to it at the end. Before we begin, this video is educational and not a substitute for professional care. If you're in crisis and in the United States, please call or text 988. Veterans and service members can press 1 after calling 988 or text 838-255 for the Veterans Crisis Line. So what exactly is anxious attachment? Anxious attachment is a learned pattern where your nervous system becomes extra sensitive to any sign of distance or rejection in a relationship. When closeness feels uncertain, your internal alarm turns on really fast. And with that alarm comes a powerful urge to fix a connection right away. So you ask, check in, anything to close the gap. Here's what I want you to hear first. Anxious attachment is not a diagnosis, and it doesn't define who you are. It's a survival strategy your nervous system learned, often early in life, when love or care felt inconsistent or insecure. So your nervous system learned to stay alert, watch closely, and act quickly when connection felt at risk. And that strategy made sense back then. Anxious attachment is not necessarily fixed. Research shows that attachment patterns can shift over time, especially through meaningful relationships and consistent practice. Acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, is an evidence-based therapy for anxiety, and its skills can help with the thoughts, feelings, and urges that keep this pattern going. That's what we're walking through today. Let me describe how anxious attachment often shows up in daily life so that you can see if any of this feels familiar. On the inside, it can sound like, I can't relax until I know we're okay. If I bring this up, they'll get upset and leave. Or I need certainty. I need to know what they're thinking right now. On the outside, it often shows up in 4 common behaviors. The first is reassurance seeking, asking if everything is okay, checking, rereading old messages, or making that call again and again. The second is overfunctioning, doing more and more for the other person, trying to be so helpful, so easygoing, so good that rejection becomes impossible. The third is rumination after conflict. This is replaying every conversation, analyzing every word, or searching for proof about where you stand. And the fourth is protest behavior. Protest behavior in anxious attachment can look like pushing, testing, picking a fight, or even threatening to leave, not because you want the relationship to end, but because a part of you is hoping they'll fight for it and show you they care. If you recognize yourself in these anxious attachment patterns, please hear me. These patterns can make connection harder, but they're understandable, they're workable, and they're capable of change. It's also important to recognize that your anxious response is your alarm system doing exactly what it was trained to do in these situations. Now let's look at why the anxious attachment spiral happens so fast. When your mind senses rejection, it's not running a calm debate, it's running a threat alarm, and that alarm follows a predictable loop. Step one, a cue of distance, a late reply, a distracted tone, or less touch than usual. Step two, your mind builds a threat story. They're pulling away. They're mad at me. I did something wrong. Step three, your body responds. Tight chest, knot in the stomach, restlessness, or racing heart. Step four, an urge shows up. Text again, demand clarity, apologize for something, or check their social media. Step five, you act on the urge and you get a short term fix. They reply and you feel better. But here's step six, and this is the part that matters. Every time the loop runs, there's a long term cost. Relying on an external fix can make the alarm harder to settle over time and increase the pull toward checking again. Not because something's wrong with you, but because a pattern reinforces itself. The spiral isn't happening because you're dramatic. It's happening because it's a very fast alarm system that's doing its job, and you continue to do everything to avoid that discomfort. One of the most misunderstood parts of anxious attachment is reassurance. Here's a belief that most people carry. If I can just get enough reassurance, I'll finally feel secure. And in that moment, reassurance does work. When the other person says, it's all right, we're okay, the anxiety, in fact, does drop in the moment. But the problem is that when reassurance becomes the main way that you manage anxiety, your mind learns a quiet rule. I'm only safe when someone tells me I'm safe. So the relief gets shorter, the doubt comes back faster, and the alarm needs more and more certainty just to settle. Now, let me be clear. Reassurance itself isn't bad. Healthy reassurance is a part of adaptive and close relationships. The issue is when reassurance seeking starts to feel compulsive, when it becomes the only tool you have to get relief. And that is exactly where ACT comes in, because ACT doesn't try to win the argument with anxiety, but it helps you build a different relationship to it. So, how does acceptance and commitment therapy actually help with anxious attachment? ACT is an evidence-based therapy with strong research support for treating anxiety. Although ACT hasn't rigorously been studied as a standalone treatment for anxious attachment, it offers a promising way to work with the patterns that keep the spiral going, such as avoidance, certainty seeking, and getting caught up in the story. ACT builds something called psychological flexibility. What that looks like here is the ability to feel the alarm go off inside you and still choose your next move. In my practice, I teach this as a simple 3-part loop: label, unhook, and choose. First, label what's happening. I'm having an attachment spike. Then see if you can name the pieces. They haven't texted back. My mind's telling me that they're pulling away. I feel the urge to send another message, to check their social media, or to ask for reassurance. So naming the trigger, the story, and the urge turns a vague sense of panic into a pattern that you can recognize and you can work with. Second is to unhook from the thoughts. During an anxious attachment spiral, thoughts arrive feeling like facts, like truth. They're pulling away, I'm not important anymore, or this will definitely end us. See if you can notice thoughts as something your mind is generating, not as absolute facts. Diffusion is a skill of noticing a thought as a thought. So instead of they don't care, you practice, I'm noticing the thought that they don't care. Instead of I'm being abandoned, you practice, my mind is telling me the abandonment story. That small shift doesn't make the thought or discomfort disappear, but it creates enough space for you to choose instead of automatically reacting. And third, choose. Take one small action that matches the partner you want to be, even while anxiety is there. Maybe work on sending one message instead of multiple. Ask one clear question and sit with the response. Or you can work on holding your boundaries without punishing. Practicing secure behaviors consistently, one action at a time, can support movement toward greater security over the long run. The goal of ACT is not to perfect calm. The goal is secure behavior you can practice, even when anxiety shows up. Here's a 90-second ACT reset for reassurance urges. Consider trying this when you feel pulled to text again, check again, or demand certainty. Step 1, name the moment. Say to yourself, this is a surge of anxious attachment. Step 2, locate the sensation. Where is it in your body? Is it a tight chest? Lump in your throat? Knot in your stomach? Briefly scan your body to locate where you're holding the distress. Step 3, make room. Breathe into that area as best as you can and let the sensation be there without fighting it, without trying to change it. You're not making it go away, you're making space for it. Step 4, unhook from the story. There's my mind predicting abandonment again. There's my mind trying to get certainty right now. Step 5, choose one values-based action. Ask yourself, what action matches the secure and confident partner I want to be right now? So name it, locate the distress in your body, pause and make space for it, unhook from the protective story, and choose your next step. Your only job in those 90 seconds is to create a small gap between the urge and the action. That gap is where change happens. Here are a few quick swaps I teach my clients for anxious attachment moments. These are simple trades between the anxious move and the secure move. Do ask one clear question. Do not interrogate until you feel calm. Do share your feeling plus a request. Do not lead with an accusation. Do take a 90-second pause and reset. Do not send 5 texts in a row. Do name the story as a story. Do not treat it like a verdict. Do take a communicated pause when you need one. Do not use silence to punish or control in your relationship. Notice what these swaps have in common. None of them require you to feel calm first. They're actions you can take while anxiety is still present, and that's psychological flexibility in practice. Let me give you 2 communication scripts that you can borrow word for word. The first one is a direct request. Use a direct request when you feel an anxious spiral starting and you want clarity without escalation. It sounds like this. Hey, I'm noticing I'm getting really anxious right now and I don't want to spiral. Can we set a time to talk later today? Notice what that does. It names your experience honestly, and it doesn't accuse. It asks for something specific and doable. The second script is a repair after conflict. You can use this to reconnect after a disagreement. It sounds like this. I care about us and I want to understand what happened without blaming. Can we share something that we each felt in the moment and one thing that we need from each other going forward? In a safe relationship, repair can be one of the most secure behaviors you practice. You don't have to get the conflict perfect. What matters is returning to the conversation with honesty and respect when both people are willing. Not every alarm is false. One more thing before we move on. Having anxious attachment does not mean that every relationship concern is imagined. Sometimes another person really is inconsistent, unavailable, or unwilling to communicate clearly. ACT is not about talking yourself out of your perception. It helps you separate what actually happened, what your mind added, and what response fits your values and boundaries. One more situation I hear about very often in my practice. What if you have anxious attachment and your partner's avoidant? Anxious attachment often gets louder when a partner copes by withdrawing. You move toward, they pull back. You pursue harder, and they pull back further. A commonly helpful move is to reduce the pursuit and increase the clarity. Say what you need in one sentence, offer a specific time to reconnect, and then return to your own grounding and your own values. I made a full video about avoiding attachment, why people pull away when relationships get close, and how ACT helps with that pattern too. I'll link it below because I really think it's helpful to understand both sides of this dynamic. When therapy can help. So when is it worth reaching out for professional support? Therapy can be especially helpful if reassurance seeking is affecting your trust, intimacy, or stability in your relationships. If you feel stuck in the same conflict loops, if you feel anxiety is interfering with your sleep or your work or your focus, or if you want to build, earn security, and it feels too hard to do it alone right now, just know that you don't need a crisis to reach out, and you don't need a diagnosis. Many people start out by simply naming a pattern that just isn't working for them anymore. In my practice, we slow the spiral down. We map your specific triggers, the stories, and your specific urges. And then we practice new responses in small, repeatable steps at a pace that feels manageable. Everything I covered today comes from a detailed article on my website. The full guide goes deeper, including a trigger table, all 4 communication scripts, and the complete skill sequence. You can find it at nextmissionrecovery.com in the blog section under the title Act for Anxious Attachment, Skills for Relationship Anxiety. The link is in the description. And if you're in California or Virginia and you would like to explore working together, I provide ACT-led telehealth therapy for adults across both states with limited in-person sessions in Folsom, California by appointment. Before I go, I want to say one more thing directly to you. Wanting closeness is not a flaw. Needing connection is not a weakness. Your alarm learned to protect something that matters deeply to you. So the work here isn't to care less. The work is to care with more freedom and less panic. And that's exactly what ACT-led therapy works toward. These videos are educational and not a replacement for therapy, but if the themes resonate with you, I welcome you to subscribe and continue learning with me. Thank you for spending this time with me. If these videos supported you today, I hope you'll check back in for more ACT-led, trauma-informed psychoeducation with me, Dr. Sheila Vidal of Next Mission Recovery. I'll talk with you in the next video.